Right, so Keir Starmer has been outplayed by the Tories yet again. Did I say two-faced in the title, by the way? It must be at least 3 or 4 by now on this subject, because the man cannot lead, cannot take a position, not unless it's been handed to him by advisors or consultancies or focus groups that he is far, far too reliant on. Or he's just copying whatever the Tories do. It is a measure of just how awful a Prime Minister he would actually be, having reached the position he has by pretending to be everything he really isn't. And as more and more people start to realise that, the fewer and fewer people can actually stand him. On the matter of Palestine, though, he's excelled himself, having advocated for war crimes to be committed by Israel against Gaza, denying it, stepping away from recognising a Palestinian state, tearing up that decade-long Labour Party policy, changing his mind on that entirely again when Benjamin Netanyahu formally rubbished the idea of a two-state solution, then sticking to their new position of not recognising a Palestinian state, to now demanding a Palestinian state the moment unelected Foreign Secretary David Cameron has now suggested it, thus once more copying the Tories. If Starmer becomes PM, is he going to be getting Sunak to declare national policy for him just so he can keep on agreeing with it? Because the man cannot come up with anything on his own. He cannot lead on anything. Right, so Palestinian statehood. David Cameron has just floated the idea, but to my mind this just screams PR exercise. Cameron's background is in public relations. He always was one for pushing policy like a product advertising campaign. And he's really good at drawing attention to stuff like this and spinning it in a way that's favourable for him. Right now, he's identified the Muslim voter market, which is deserting Labour in droves. I'm not going to dig into Labour's Muslim voter woes in this video. That's enough to cover already. I'm going to cover that in a separate video later. It warrants its own video, so stay tuned for that. But Cameron has identified a gap in the market, so to speak, to exploit, and he knows offering Palestinian statehood will be attractive. Don't fall for it. He's a Tory. He's about as honest as Netanyahu will be on this matter. To give an idea of actually why Rishi Sunak needed to bring someone like Cameron in, such was the utterly lightweight and stupid assemblage of bloated, bloviating imbecillery that consists of his parliamentary party, many are too stupid even now to see that this is just a ruse by Cameron, and have attacked him over it, saying it would be rewarding Hamas to grant Palestinian statehood. Never mind that Hamas are the elected government. Never mind that just because the UK sees Hamas as a terrorist state that other nations do as well. And never mind that the entire people are under occupation. Cameron doesn't mean it. He's wrong-footing Starmer, which is child's play functionally, but also at the end of the day, recognition of a Palestinian state by the UK needs to be as part of a global recognition of a Palestinian state. It would take a global effort to deliver that, and above all else, would require Israel being held to account, which in practice still isn't happening, as the ICJ ruling and provisional orders get abused and ignored. Say the Tories did mean it, though. They could put it in their manifesto, and I still wouldn't believe it, mind you. But if they did, with the strength of feeling amongst the majority of the country on this matter that has been completely out of lockstep amongst political leadership opinions, especially on Israel lobby bought and paid for Labour politicians, some 40% of whom it's being reported owe something to the Israel lobby somewhere along the line, it's an election battle line to be drawn. The Tories are the sort to pretend to be pro-Palestine while still arming Israel, of course. Hypocrisy means nothing to them. They can con a vote out of some of you, they will. Nevertheless, the media are carrying the story as many of you might expect them to, with many of them and their pro-Tory leanings reporting this as a big win for the Tories in Cameron's proclamation. But he's not Tory leader anymore, and there's no sign that I've seen of Sunak backing this up in any way. That said, Ambassador to the UK for Palestine, Hussam Zomlot, practically a household name now, such are his many and strong media outings to defend Gaza and what Israel are doing out there, has hailed Cameron's words, saying, "This is historic. It is the first time a UK Foreign Secretary considers recognising the state of Palestine bilaterally and in the UN as a contribution to a peaceful solution rather than outcome. A UK recognition is both a Palestinian right and a British moral, political, legal and historical responsibility. If implemented, the Cameron Declaration would remove Israel's veto power over Palestinian statehood, would boost efforts towards a two-state outcome, and would begin correcting the historic injustice inflicted on the Palestinian people by colonial Britain's Balfour Declaration." If only I could believe it like he appears to. Though I surmise Dr. Zomlot is probably just as reticent as I am on the quiet. But now Labour are trying to associate themselves with this move, copying the Tories yet again, without shame, despite the words of their leader Keir Starmer still ringing in our ears that Israel does have that right to withdraw water and power, as he told Nick Ferrari on LBC. Those words, that interview, will haunt him for the rest of his days, and should by rights earn him a day in the dock for advocating for war crimes to be committed. But it was the words of the equally duplicitous and two-faced David Lammy who spelled out Labour's agreement with his Foreign Office counterpart's move. Not only that, but tried to claim credit for it. Lammy stood up in Parliament and he said, "For a decade now, the Labour Party has supported Palestinian recognition. As Keir Starmer has said, Palestinian statehood is not the gift of a neighbour, it is the inalienable right of the Palestinian people. I welcome the Foreign Secretary adopting this position and rejecting the notion that recognition can only follow the conclusion of negotiations." What a creep! Lammy is also on record as saying that recognising a Palestinian state was an unrealistic gesture. He's as opportunistic as Starmer, he's just been doing it for far longer. It was only the week before last that Labour formally dropped its position on all of this. But the moment the Tories picked it up, they now pretend no such thing happened at all. It is all so shameless, and they act as if people won't notice. But some of us spend an unhealthy amount of time noticing these things, and then we talk about it. All because the Tories announced this, Labour now think it is a good idea again. Listening to the Israel lobby too much likely put you all in this position to begin with. Damage limitation isn't going to wash. People's memories are not as short as you hope they are. Lammy's pathetic show in the Commons was not missed by the many commentators on such things. Former Corbyn advisor and journalist Steve Howell wrote, 2 weeks ago, Starmer ditched Labour's long-standing policy of recognising the state of Palestine. Today, faced with the Tories supporting recognition, Lammy acted as if the U-turn earlier in January had never happened. These people have no principles and no shame. The Liverpool Community Independence Group on Liverpool City Council, who are going to be standing a candidate against Labour right-winger Maria Eagle, wrote, Labour explicitly retreated from this policy 2 weeks ago. It said no recognition of Palestinian statehood unless Israel agrees. Starmer's party speaks out of two sides of its mouth and can't be trusted. And the Democracy Collaborative President Joe Guinan wrote, a reverse ferret from Labour. The sheer brazenness of this since Starmer just dropped recognition of a Palestinian state as Labour policy a couple of weeks ago. They are compulsive and constant liars. It was only the other week a member of Starmer's shadow cabinet, Wayne David, when Labour dumped the idea that he called recognition of Palestinian statehood T-shirt politics, and now we're supposed to believe they always supported the idea. Labour under Starmer and Lammy and the rest of these awful red Tories, utterly beholden to Israel lobby donations in far too many cases, have no principles, have no ideas of their own, can only copy what is already being done to this country, ruined by 14 years of the Tories, and they won't do anything differently. A vote for Labour cannot be seen as anything other than delivering power into the hands of people we don't know, who will face no accountability, shadowy figures acting behind them because of that. And we won't have a government working in our interests yet again. Both main parties are prepared to use Palestine as political football now, going into a general election, as people die out there still on a daily basis, thanks to an occupying force we the UK officially support, and are arming in no small part, that both main parties in fact support, and are likely complicit in genocide now as a result. Why would anyone consider either of these parties right now? I don't know. Because absolutely nothing will change no matter which one of them wins power at the general election. And if you watch this video here from the other week where I covered Starmer's dumping of the concept of Palestinian statehood, you can see in more detail just what a blatant liar he is on this issue now. Highly recommended highly recommended viewing even, of course, if you haven't already seen it. And I will hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.